Well, hello lovely humans, and welcome back to my channel. If you are watching this on Wedding Chicks or over on Facebook, thank you so much for stopping by. And if you are new here, thanks for stopping by too. Cause, you know, I'm happy to see you, even though I'm staring at a camera by myself alone in a room. As you have seen already by the title of this video, we're gonna talk about something that a couple people are probably gonna disagree with. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, Jamie, you're telling everyone to hire a coordinator because this is what you do for a living. And while part of that is fair, I'm a little bit biased when it comes to that. What you don't know is I actually didn't have a coordinator on my wedding day. Nope, no coordinator. Guess who ran it? Me and my dad. My dad had to do a lot, and I had to rely on my photographer and my DJ to handle things, thank God for them. But that stress fell on my shoulders mostly because my coordinator, who was a friend of a friend and offered to do our event for free, venue coordinator, really good at what she does, was free, available, was gonna do our event for free, and then her venue got booked. So a week before my wedding, I lost my coordinator. I mean, it was chaos. It was so difficult. I can't tell you how stressed I was. Now, obviously, wedding days are really important to me. It's because of my wedding day and because of my wedding planning process that I actually launched my business and launched my entire career. But that's not to say that if I went back to do it again, that I wouldn't change that one pivotal part, because things fell apart. We were standing for 20 minutes waiting for our grand entrance. 20 minutes. Like, we skipped over our first dance entirely and went straight to food and totally flopped the whole schedule around because we were so hungry from waiting there for so long that, like, we're just like, screw it, let's just go eat. And it was so stressful, and I can't tell you how much that affected my vision of my wedding day. In fact, for months afterwards, I just would like sit and be stressed thinking about it. And that is so not the kind of attitude you want to leave your wedding day with. Yeah, maybe I'm a little more attached to those details than the average person because this is now what I do for a living, and this is something that I'm really passionate about. And to watch portions of my event not go the way that I had planned was really, really sad for me. But that's also one of the main reasons why I am so passionate about what I do, is because I don't want any bride that I work with to ever experience that ever again. So the whole purpose of this video is not to rant. It's not to force you to hire a coordinator. It's just to educate you. It's to let you know why you can't be your own coordinator and why your mom can't do it, or your cousin can't do it, or your maid of honor, or your second cousin who's not attending the wedding but has offered to work the wedding for free can't do it. At least not the same way that a coordinator does. So without further ado, why you can't coordinate your own wedding. Number one, you don't have the knowledge or the experience. You know that. I know that. But oftentimes people are like, oh, that's okay. You know, I just found this free template, or there's all these free resources online and I'll figure it out. Well, there is some merit to that. There are a bunch of wonderful articles out there, a bunch of great templates. There's some great things out there to help you learn more about the industry and learn more about how to run your wedding day. What they don't tell you is that those are averages, and your wedding, my friend, is not average. I guarantee you there's going to be parts of your wedding that is not considered typical. Perhaps the time frame for dinner that you're looking at is for a plated dinner for 75 people, and you're having a buffet dinner for 150 people. Those are two completely different time frames, and therefore will affect your timeline accordingly. I happen to know that a first look should happen at least 2 hours before your ceremony. I also happen to know that a buffet line goes a lot faster when you have two fully functioning lines. And then there's the experience. There's the on-the-job training, where we learn a lot along the way that no book, no Pinterest page, and no amount of Googling can teach you. While a self-serve bar may sound like a great idea, in my experience, it's not. Number two, vendors. Not only do we have relationships with vendors, but we also know what they should and should not do. For example, I know that a full service catering crew should bus and scrape your plates, especially if you're renting them. I also know that a food truck will not provide that same service because there likely will not be any servers. Because I have this understanding of vendors within the business, I know what their limitations are. It's easy to assume that, oh, because we hired them to do the food, they're going to do everything food related, and that is not the case. Because we have relationships with vendors, because we have worked with different kinds of vendors, and because we have this experience with vendors, we know what should and should not happen. If you have not worked a wedding before, you don't know those extra little details, and you're not supposed to. This isn't what you do for a living. It's what a coordinator does. Number three, we are unbiased and unemotional. When it comes to making decisions for your wedding day, we are not making decisions that we want to see happen. We are making decisions that you want to see happen. And anytime a personal or long-term relationship gets involved, that can get a little bit muddy. And because we are removed, we are much better equipped to handle these kinds of situations. If you have opinionated great Aunt Karen setting out your centerpieces and she decides at the last minute that pumpkins don't work with your vibe and she nixes them, well, then you don't get pumpkins and your fall-themed centerpieces because great Aunt Karen decided that you didn't need them. Speaking of emotions, number 4, counseling and mediation. This is one of the more overlooked elements of a coordinator's job, but we are there to counsel family members and friends who may be miffed by something that happened in the schedule, a grandmother who was upset that she didn't get more photos with the bride. We are the ones that are there to handle it, to free up your mom so she can go take photos with you or go schmooze some of her guests as well, so she doesn't have to be caught up and involved in conversations with grandma and explaining to grandma the photo timeline and how that works, instead of hanging out with extended family that is flown in from out of state to attend this wonderful event. Mediation also kind of covers with vendors. Because we know what services vendors are supposed to be performing and what they need from us, we also know when they're not doing their job. So we can be the ones to step up and go, I'm sorry, that's not the napkin fold that we agreed on, that needs to be fixed. Or, no, you put too many glasses on the table. We agreed that we wouldn't put coffee cups out because there's not enough room on the table, so you need to remove those. When you're doing it yourself, you can't be there to monitor what's being put on the tables because most likely you're getting hitched. Also, your maid of honor is not going to know if that's too many cups on the table because she hasn't done this before. Number 5, we know how to put out fires. We know how to handle a terrible situation at the drop of a hat. Sometimes that means actually literally putting out a fire. You would be surprised what a 7-year-old boy can do with a paper napkin and a votive candle. I have physically put out a fire before. It happens, but we are there because we're not a part of the party. If your best friend from high school is coordinating your wedding day and gets caught up chatting with one of your other best friends from middle school, then their focus is not on the event. They're in the event, not working it. And speaking of working your event, number 6, it's our main focus. We are not there to mingle with guests. We are not there to catch up with old friends. We are there to perform a service that literally no one other than a coordinator can perform. Number 7, setup gets the sweat up. It is very labor intensive getting ready for a wedding. It is very labor intensive tearing down a wedding. So if you're expecting your bridesmaids to set up all of your centerpieces, escort cards, dessert table, I already said centerpieces, they're going to be working really hard and really fast to make sure that they're doing everything according to your wishes. And while that's really nice of them, that means they're getting sweaty and gross, and they have to get ready to walk down the aisle with you and look nice. And setup is a sweaty experience. There's a reason that we wear all black, and it's not only because it's professional and sleek looking, it's because it hides the sweat very, very well. Number 8. Your timeline. You can Google until the cows come home. You can Pinterest like you were being paid to do it. But what you cannot do is put together a timeline and know exactly when everything's supposed to be happening. What you also cannot do is adjust the timeline when you're busy getting married. So if you get stuck in traffic and you're 10 minutes late for your ceremony, who's gonna warn the officiant? Who's gonna warn the musicians? Are you calling people in your wedding dress stuck in traffic being like, hey, yo, I'm gonna be a couple minutes late, I'll see you soon? Probably not. You want your sole focus to be on marrying the person of your dreams, not on your Waze app trying to figure out how much time you're gonna be left in traffic. And if you start your ceremony late, that means your cocktail hour is starting late, and that means your reception's likely starting late. So who's warning the caterer so the food comes out on time? We eat, sleep, and breathe these timelines. We know them like the back of our hand, and we know exactly what to do when anything gets pushed in the wrong direction. When it comes to the reception, there's something that we call like a 5-minute rule. So 5 minutes before grand entrance, we go and warn the DJ, hey, guess what? Grand entrance happening 5 minutes. Then we run back, make sure everyone's in line, and then grand entrance happens. When toasts are about to happen, about 5 to 10 minutes before, we go to the catering company and say, hey, toasts are happening in about 5-10 minutes. You might want to start on the champagne pour. These are all details that we know about your timeline that your great Aunt Karen does not know. So if all of a sudden it's just like, oh, toasts are happening, there's no champagne, and the catering crew is just scurrying around trying to pour champagne as quickly as possible, it's not good for anybody. Folks, A coordinator has a singular role on your wedding day, and that is to make it your best day ever. It is something that we pour our hearts and souls into. We have spent time learning. We have spent time investigating. We have experience under our belts. We know what everything should look like. That is why we are irreplaceable on your wedding day. It takes so much more than being detail-oriented and knowing how to read a timeline to run a wedding day. It takes knowledge, experience, an unbiased and unemotional nature, the ability to counsel and mediate when things go awry, putting out fires and handling emergencies, singular focus, sweat, and knowing how to run a timeline with our eyes closed. So that's what we have for today, folks. Thank you so much for stopping by. I know that was a lot. I just kind of like tossed it all at you, but hopefully that was helpful. If you haven't done so already, like this video, subscribe to this channel for more tips and tricks for the modern day bride. As always, a huge shout out to my gal pals over at Wedding Chicks for hosting this video. And until next week, bye guys!